So it seems like Rings of Power is changing focus for season 3. So what we want to look at today is that real or is that just like a pump fake? Okay, so I'm going through an article from Screen Rant. So the Rings of Power is switching main characters and seasons. So let's just go through the whole thing. So Prime Video's The Rings of Power will again shift its focus with season 3. The Lords of the Rings prequel series set in Middle-earth's Second Age. The Lord of the Rings prequel series set in Middle-earth's Second Age follows an ensemble cast with attention spread across various characters of different races across the map. Still, each installment has paid special attention to a different character. This has allowed Rings of Power Seasons 1 and 2 to cover different perspectives. And based on what we know from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, that will continue with a certain character in season 3. Yeah, but here's the thing. They haven't been following what Tolkien set down for like the last 3.5 years. Why would they start doing that now? Are they really going to start doing that now? I mean, I don't understand where this kid is going with this article. I don't get it. Okay, so Angel Shaw continues. Season 1 of The Lord of the Rings of Powers, revolved predominantly around Galadriel. We got to know her past and various motivations, all the while she built a friendship with the very villain she sought to seek vengeance against. If we remember correctly, this, of course, was not in line with Tolkien's vision whatsoever. Okay, and going into Prime Video's series' second season, the attention shifted more to Elrond, his mistrust of the 3 Elven rings, and uncertainty about Galadriel's choices and connection to Sauron. That's not totally correct. I mean, the impression that we've been given most of these, the last 2 seasons, that Galadriel still is one of the main characters of the show. Even in terms of continuity, if we start a 3rd season and we don't really have at all a Galadriel point of view, that would be really kind of strange for the viewer. So this brings us to Rings of Power Season 3. This coming installment is expected to pick up after a time jump, diving into the meat of the War of the Elves and Sauron. Not really sure why all of these time jumps are so quote-unquote useful to them. I don't understand. The excuse, of course, is going to be licensing, but it just really makes it very, very confusing, especially to people who know the literature very little. So this is when the Dark Lord truly begins to exercise his evil in Middle-earth. And, I mean, this is really no surprise that we would focus on this. I kind of talked about this in many videos. Not a surprise of the focus on evil. Not a surprise, unfortunately. So it's evident that Sauron will take over the role of the main character in Rings of Power Season 3. So I'm not going to derail the Rings of Power conversation with talking too much about my original vision for this channel, or some of the really more important spiritual and religious lessons that are embedded in Rings of Power. That said, it's very clear to anybody, whether they are a believer or a non-believer, that this goes against basic Tolkien vision for his books. As an aside, I've written books where a villain is cast in a great light. This isn't really what Tolkien does. Tolkien does create very complex evil characters, but we're not really projecting, oh, let's understand them. Forget about that. Okay, and then like Miss Angel, she puts like a bracket or a second line that Sauron will be the Rings of Power season 3 main character according to the books. Where in the books was Sauron the main character? Where? Now, if you're going to say that there were times where Sauron had POV, of course you have to give him POV, but the main character of what books? Was he the main character of Return of the King? What book? Okay, Sauron has always taken up a lot of space in Rings of Power. Yes. We weren't aware of his secret identity in season 1. I don't know who wasn't aware. Maybe a lot of people weren't aware. I wasn't one of them. It was pretty obvious. There was really, for me, there was no secret. For a lot of people, there was like a secret, but for me, there really was no secret. We weren't aware of his secret identity in season 1. But the Dark Lord was still there all along, disguised as Halbrand, not very well disguised. Then in season 2, Sauron took on the identity of Anatar, also not well disguised, created his titular Rings of Power, and tormented poor Celebrimbor. Season 3 will be when the villain casts aside the covert deception and begins his work of conquering Eriador. He already did that in season 2. He already did mask off like the future song in season 2, to clarify. So his disguises will be abandoned, and even more critically, Sauron will create his one ring to rule them all. Now that part, of course, he's got to do that. So the One Ring stands at the very center of the overarching The Lords of the Rings franchise. It's this weapon that makes it necessary for Frodo to leave the Shire, and why the War of the Third Age broke out. Clearly, the Ring's creation will be an absolutely massive deal in the Rings of Power. Beyond this, Sauron's creation will begin the process of turning the 9 men who receive Rings of Power into the Nazgul, another central element to the Lord of the Rings. Okay, and all of this will feel like a significant victory for the Dark Lord, at least at first. All of the seasons have been a victory for the Dark Lord. All of the seasons. Rings of Power has devoted time to exploring Sauron's motivations and emotional state, and since season 3 will mark his big moment, this is when the show will truly dive deep into the villain's mind. The show has been about Sauron. I've done many videos about that. Sauron's the only one who's been really developed at a deep level. The rest of the other characters have been turned into stumbling buffoons. The only ones like mildly that I would say have kind of had some kind of have had some kind of push to color their behavior have been like Elrond, but really it's been the Sauron show. So it's a shift in focus for Rings of Power, and certainly something to look forward to. It's not a shift in focus whatsoever. And really, it's not really the best direction to go into, but it's the direction they're going in, not the best direction. And why is it, you say? It's not the best direction to go in because it's not in line with Tolkien. That's it. If you're creating your own thing that you made up completely, all right, fair enough. But when you're adapting something based on somebody else's work, you want to follow their work, no? So Elrond and Galadriel will still have big roles in the Rings of Power Season 3. I would hope so, for the viewer's sake. Of course, just because Sauron will take center stage in the Rings of Power Season 3 doesn't mean the other members of the ensemble won't get their moments to shine. I mean, it's been the Sauron show thus far, right? After all, even while Seasons 1 and 2 primarily explored the actions of others, did they really? Sauron remained a consistent presence on screen. Galadriel and Elrond have key parts to play in the War of the Elves and Sauron, as they are two of the most important figures among Middle-earth's forces of good during the Second Age. The ending of Rings of Power Season 2 saw the Elves of Eregion, led by Elrond, arrive in the valley that will become Rivendell. Considering the time jump, Season 3 is sure to pick up when this elvish stronghold is more established and Elrond has taken his leadership role. Galadriel, on the other hand, remains the bearer of the ring Nenya and will use it to safeguard her people. It's also possible that we will see Galadriel's first visit to Lothlorien, the realm that will become her home and sanctuary. Suffice it to say, these characters are still moving forward. So, I am not surprised whatsoever at the direction of Season 3. It's not surprising. It was pretty much foreshadowed in Season 1. And we'll see how it comes off. But it's definitely not really in the spirit of Tolkien. It's very obvious.